1990s Japanese sports cars. The day they rolled out of the showroom, they changed the automotive world forever. I'm here to talk about some of the history, the cars, and provide insight into what made these cars legends. Now, before we start this journey, I want to clarify a few things. I will be talking about the most popular and referred to 90s Japanese cars. The cars I will be talking about have obvious similarities, like they all have sequential twin turbos, with the exception of the Honda Nsx. I won't talk about special edition cars because they were not mass produced. Even the cars I talk about have special editions, like the Acura Nsx-R, the R34 Nissan Skyline Gtr, and other limited edition models. I apologize if I do not include the Evo or STI, but those cars were not the flagship cars for their respective manufacturers in the 90s, even though they are definitely cool cars. So I wanted to make a notable mention about Nissan's 300ZX TT. The Z32 is an awesome car, but we will be referencing the Nissan Skyline Gtr because it was Nissan's flagship, but the Z32 does have a lot of similarities with the other cars we're talking about as far as twin turbo and other things, but I just wanted to make that note. Japanese automotive manufacturers had built up their abilities over the previous decades. And as they entered the 90s, they wanted to showcase what they had and make a name on the world stage. By creating performance cars that had better reliability and lower prices than known names like Ferrari, Japanese manufacturers created an era of amazing vehicles. When the 90s JDM cars were being conceived in design rooms full of engineers, it was not a time of what car can we build with a limited budget or best fuel economy. In fact, it is well known that this era of cars got labeled as over-engineered. The Japanese auto manufacturers had one job: to build the best sports cars that they could be proud of, without most of today's environmental or safety concerns. But there was no question that this was a competition between the manufacturers, a fight for who could make the best car. With all fights of this nature, there are rules, and one of those rules was called the Gentleman's Agreement. The Gentleman's Agreement started in the 70s in Japan because bazooka gangs were being wild and causing accidents and fatalities. There was a sense that speed was an issue, so the Japan Automobile Manufacturers Association suggested regulators to cap speed at 180 kilometers per hour. Manufacturers agreed because they wanted to be corporate citizens. In the 80s, there were still major numbers of road deaths, so manufacturers decided to keep horsepower under 280. This agreement remained in place until 2004, when the JAMA chairman told the public that there did not appear to be a relationship between speed and deaths. Right around the same time, the Honda Legend was the first car to officially break the limit with 300 horsepower. The Nissan Skyline Gtr, the R32, 33, and 34, the Toyota Supra TT, the Mazda RX-7 FD, the Mitsubishi Gto, also known as the 3000 GT Vr4 in the US, and the Acura Nsx took the world by surprise. The Nissan GTR has 3 chassis, and they all carried the RB26 DETT engine. Then you have the Mark IV Toyota Supra, the 2JZ GTE beast that is beloved by everyone. Known for its performance and its role in the Fast and Furious movie, it is a cool car. The FD RX-7 is so sleek. It also has a sequential twin-turbo system, but this car was equipped with a Wankel rotary combustion engine. At just 1.3 liters, this awesome engine could make some power. Matched with the sleek and lightweight body of the RX-7, it made for one of the best handling and looking cars Mazda ever made. The Mitsubishi Gto, also known as the 3000 GT Vr4, is an all-wheel drive technological pioneering sports car. It was also equipped with twin turbos and carried a lot of features. Features like the active aero system that are common in high-performance cars of today were an option in the Supra and 3000 GT. The Supra had an active front lip, while the Vr4 had both an active lip and an active rear spoiler. The Vr4 even had adjustable suspension via a button. These cars were ahead of their time for sure. The Honda/Acura Nsx is another legendary car. Had the first aluminum chassis and is considered not only an iconic car but one of the best driving cars. Jay Leno said his favorite car out of his collection is McLaren F1, which took inspiration from the first generation Nsx. We also can't forget Ayrton Senna's F1 world champion helped tune the suspension. The NSX was a mid-engine car designed to compete with the likes of Ferrari and Porsche, and it is without a doubt one of the best built cars of all time. The Toyota Supra, R33, R34, the Mazda RX-7 FD, and the Mitsubishi 3000 GT Vr4 all came equipped with a sequential twin-turbo system. These cars were rocket ships, and some say they knew that with a few minor upgrades and modifications, these engines in these cars could easily handle double their power. The manufacturer knew their audience, and one group that took it and ran was the tuner and auto enthusiast. If you have sat in one of these cars, you could tell that there is something special about them. Driver-focused dashes and the small details in vents and buttons really show that these cars were built with thought and most of all love. The reliability and extra attention to both the performance and overall experience of driving these cars was unparalleled. But these cars were not cheap by any means. In the 1990s, the sticker price of a Supra at the dealership was around $45,000 to $55,000. Using the S. Morgan Friedman's inflation calculator, that is roughly between $70,000 to $95,000 in today's money. The NSX was more of an exotic car in the 90s, with a hefty price tag of $60,000 in 1990. Yet, Toyota stopped selling the Supra in 1998 in America and in 2002 in Japan. The Nissan Skyline Gtr, R32, R33, and R34 never came to the States, and the RX-7 stopped selling in the US in 1995, with 2002 being its last year in Japan. The Mitsubishi 3000 GT Vr4 Gto was sold from 1990 to 1999 in the US until 2000 in Japan. The NSX was sold from 1991 to 2005. It is safe to say in the early 2000s, the eras of the 90s Japanese legends stopped. Why did they cease? The US market wanted SUVs and bigger vehicles, and in the end, it was about sales. The United States emissions OBD2 requirements presented a costly obstacle as well. At times, the cost to comply could not be justified based on forecasted sales. Also, for foreign car manufacturers, there has always been politics involved that interfered with companies doing business in the US. There is no better example than the fact that there are R34 GTRs in Canada, but not in the US. It all comes down to red tape, and that is why we have to wait for the 25-year rule to see one soon. There has been no other time in history when there was an all-out competition that led to some of the most creative and frankly legendary cars in the world. These cars will always turn heads, make us smile when their blow-off valves go off, and give us joy that makes car enthusiasts like myself car addicts. Guys, thank you for tuning in the channel. I welcome you to subscribe, and I hope you guys have a happy new year. Thank you.